find out from the student what is that student's interest, and then I hope direct the student's interest to get a little deeper. So some student might like a conga drum, so I said, well, do you know that the conga drums are very popular in Cuba, so listen to Cuban music. Or another student might like drum set, jazz drum set, and if that student really loves jazz drum set, I say, hey, do you know about Max Roach or Philly Joe Jones or Elvin Jones? These are some great drummers that'll inspire him to play. So as a teacher, I'm always searching for the kid's interest or the student's interest, because once you can find their interest, you can really get them to practice. You can really dial in and get them to focus on them teaching themselves, just sort of directing them and hopefully in a right path. Focus of my house, I think, is recording music. So the main living room, which people would have a couch in or something, I've got the marimba and the vibes and the computers there and a drum set. So on the computer are recording programs. So when I'm composing, I'll play a part and I'll record it and listen back to it and then start composing on top of it. Or I'll just write on paper either at the piano or the marimba or the vibes. And then when I'm done and I've got enough of an idea, I'll figure out a tempo and set up the computer, and the microphones are always here. So it's really great. I can just start a marimba part or a vibraphone part or a drum part. And so this room is where kind of all the compositions start. And I've had people in here like a trumpet or a bass and have done some freeform, just recording, setting up several mics and just recording and having a live improvisation session. So this is the main heartbeat of the place, I think. The main recording program that I've used, 15 years, is Digital Performer. So Digital Performer is the software that's in that computer. And I've done all duos, trios, quartets, and a lot of individual composition. And then I have several different types of microphones that go into the interface, which is taking the microphones analog and converting it digitally into the USB into the computer. So that's pretty much the software for recording. When I do recording with multiple people, I usually get a bass and maybe a saxophone, sometimes a drummer, and I'll play the mallets. And that's just trying to line up a date and get everybody, say, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And depending on what it is, if I've written a bunch of compositions, I'll try to have a budget and some kind of fee to pay my buddies to come in and play my music. But for a jam session, it's way different because we're just all getting together to improvise whatever we want. And so it's kind of just like, hey, let's get together, put up microphones and hit the record button and see what happens, which is really relaxed because there's no preconceived plan. It's kind of like, let's just see what happens, and it's very fresh and interesting depending on the characters you get to come over. Whereas if it's my music and hiring people to show up, One day I was sitting at home and the phone rang and it was Kiss. It was literally Gene Simmons on the phone. He said, can you come down to Hollywood? I got your name from this engine. I said, really, is this Gene Simmons? He said, yeah, man. I said, you guys have been around. He goes, yeah, this is our 25th record. So another day I got called to do a Willie Nelson record, and that was really cool. He wasn't there, but his producer was there. But that led to doing the Tonight Show with Willie Nelson. Another time was Phil Woods, a great jazz saxophone player. That was more of a live gig, but one of my big favorite things in late 80s is a friend of mine, is a composer, Ron Jones, got the Star Trek The Next Generation, and my phone rang and he said, Brad, I got the Star Trek show. I said, what? I couldn't believe it. So that was like 4 or 5 years of steady work on Star Trek The Next Generation, and I was already a Trekkie for many years watching the old series. Mallet instruments really are changed greatly by the mallet, because all mallet instruments have many different mallets we can play with. So they're changed by the softness and what either the cord or the string or thread that's on the mallet head. So this sounds like this one. Let me turn the vibes on because the vibra harp sounds so cool. This is kind of a medium. This is a much harder mallet, just a harder core. Very brittle, very attacky. This is very medium. Then we have special effects stuff. These I literally put bottle caps on. I screwed bottle caps to them. So I always have this really cool rhythm. Very fun to have, and I must have a couple hundred mallets. They all really change the sound of whether it's vibraphone, marimba, xylophone, whatever it is. You have a completely different approach with different sticks, mallets. This is a xylo-marimba from the 20s. Back then they'd make a marimba here and put a xylophone at the top. But the cool thing about the bars, they're about 100 years old, so it's just got this great warm sound in this space.